We could potentially have breaking news in the coming days, hopefully not in the coming weeks, regarding the Mexican national team manager seat. Juan Carlos Osorio. He stated he'd love to stay, but reports coming out of Marca Claro in Colombia saying Osorio has a verbal agreement with the U.S. men's national team to lead their team in the next World Cup cycle for Qatar 2022. Who's it gonna be? Will Juan Carlos Osorio re-sign with the Mexican national team despite these reports? Will we see a new face leading El Tri in Matias Almeyda? Or will we go back to a familiar face in Miguel Herrera? Let's dive into it. So, let's talk about the news surrounding Juan Carlos Osorio. Well, Juan Carlos Osorio stated right after Mexico's participation in the World Cup came to an end that he'd consider staying if he still had the trust and the respect of his players. Now, Osorio was called to Mexico for a meeting with Yon de Luisa. This is according to Fox Sports, and this is where they're gonna discuss his, desire or maybe his, goodbye from El Tri. Now, Osorio is a candidate to take the reins of Colombia if Pekerman does not continue. And like we've been hearing for quite some time now, he is a huge, probably the leading candidate to take the reins of the U.S. men's national team, and reports from Marca Claro in Colombia state there is already a verbal agreement for that. So all things point to Juan Carlos Osorio not re-signing with the Mexican national team, and this might not be what's surprising. It's been known that Osorio wasn't really comfortable in Mexico. He has stated in numerous occasions that he wants to work in Europe. This was one of the reasons why he denied re-signing with Mexico before the World Cup. He was offered and he said, no, I want to work in Europe. Maybe I'll get the opportunity after the World Cup. But now we hear news that there's a verbal agreement with the U.S. men's national team. So that's the real surprise, because I expected Osorio probably not to re-sign with Mexico, but because he was, leaving to Europe and fulfilling that goal of his. So we'll see how these U.S. men's national team Juan Carlos Osorio rumors develop. But let's jump into the next candidate, Matias Almeyda. Now, reports from Fox Sports say there is already a verbal agreement with the Qatar team Al Rayyan. So another story of a verbal agreement, now this time involving Matias Almeyda. The thing that's interesting about this one is that supposedly Matias Almeyda negotiated a release clause in the contract with Al Rayyan in case the Mexican national team or the Argentinian national team came knocking. So there's still a chance, even though there's a verbal agreement and there's nothing solidified, that Matias Almeyda could take the reins of the Mexican national team, even though he's already agreed to be the manager of a Qatar team. Yon de Luisa apparently wants to meet with Almeyda and hear about his project, what he would bring to the table if he was granted this opportunity to lead El Tri. Now, floating out there in the Twitter sphere, I read some reports that Almeyda was also a candidate for the U.S. men's national team, which is insane, man. It seems like El Tri and the U.S. men's national team are just fighting for these coaches. They both want the same thing. We'll see how all of this plays out, but apparently Matias Almeyda and both Juan Carlos Osorio are on the short list to lead both national teams, both El Tri and the U.S. men's national team. Now, the stronger rumor is linking Juan Carlos Osorio to the U.S. men's national team. This was just something that I read on Twitter. Who knows if it actually holds any weight? So, interesting stuff. Let me know your opinions. What do you think, man? Should the Mexican Federation re-sign and keep the Osorio project ongoing for Qatar 2022? Or do you want to see a new face a young manager in Matias Almeyda lead El Tri, or maybe Miguel Herrera's your guy. Maybe you like the way the Mexican national team looked in the Brazil 2014 World Cup. Let me know your opinions in the comments down below. This is gonna get good, boys. Thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you guys on the next one.